All right, we are on air. It's Thursday, December 8th. This is our first design meeting in December. The purpose of this meeting is to talk about tasks that are design focused, where we could hopefully get help from designers. So if designers watch this later, hopefully they'll figure out what is needed and know where to jump in. Or non-designers that have design skills, all that. The first thing we're going to talk about is backdropcms.org. Wes, I moved the homepage item to the top of the list because it's the one I'm most excited about right now. We are working on a redesign of the homepage, and hopefully that will be ready to launch with the next version of Backdrop, which will be January 15th-ish. That's not a hard deadline. That would be fantastic if it happened, but if it doesn't, Backdrop itself is likely more important. So if we need to change gears and work on Backdrop, that's completely understandable. Wes, do you have any updates from since last week that you want to share with anyone?
No, I made good progress, but it's been a busy week. But it will be a lot less busy now. I have I'm not on I'm half-time right now for client work, so should get plenty of time to work on it.
Nate's like, that sounds nice. That's great. So homepage redesign is also going to lead to a couple of other pages. For example, like the how to install Backdrop page and other stuff, which I think will just emerge naturally. If you need help on any of that stuff, Wes, from a technical standpoint or whatever, let us know. I think there's a bunch of people who all want to see that happen. Other things we need, we've been talking about for a while. We have a Find Modules page and a Find Themes page on Backdrop. The Find Themes page probably needs images. We haven't quite figured out how to deal with that because the images are currently on GitHub and not pulled over to backdropcms.org. So we need to figure out a way to locate and reference them. There's also some talk about changing the way info files work so we can have more than one image, but it's been a year since we've been talking about needing that, and we haven't made any progress. So it's probably best, as was pointed out in the issue, that we just make it work for what we have now. And when we fix info files, we can fix that. Then this shouldn't be blocked on that. And hopefully we can do it in a way where we know it's coming, so we aren't having to undo work we do now. We'll just add to it. And the Find Layouts page, we have a design for it, I think. No, we don't. We don't have a design for Find Layouts page. It needs to be extrapolated from the designs we do have for the layouts for the themes and modules pages. And I think that once we figure out how to solve the image problem, that'll make a little bit more sense. Right now, we're going to have to choose one image. It'll probably be like the first one to highlight in the layout section if we want to put in an image. But we should figure out how to do that. And I think we're probably close enough on layouts working from modules and themes. But once we get it done, if we had someone that wanted to do a review and tweak on that, we could adjust as needed. Another section is the new documentation section that we have. And I think we've got kind of a pretty good grasp of how that works. I noticed that Drupal.org did a redesign of their documentation or of their API site, and I find it really hard to use now. Like the fonts are really pretty, but trying to determine like what's code and what's the text around code is really hard. It's just not as usable as it was before. And I actually find Backdrop's documentation section, even the API site, which I know is a completely different site, so much easier to read. So good job for the way it is now. And I think that if we need to do some reworking, Wes, especially based on like layout stuff, we can just kind of plunk things around and adjust as needed. I don't think it'll need that much work. But it would be good to just kind of look at it and see, especially with a horizontal menu, if anything needs to change in like sidebar left, sidebar right sort of layout-wise stuff. New section forum, we don't have one yet, but we will probably need to do a pretty thorough design review before that goes live. I know there's been a bunch of work done on it in terms of features and functionality. We can get maybe a feature branch going for adding forums and practice using it, seeing how it feels, and if we need to make any adjustments to fit with our new style, we can do that over there. Other sections we just kind of threw up without designs include the blog news section, which has kind of a right sidebar. And the events listings is just kind of a list of teasers, and they're displayed however they naturally came out. I think they're all fine for now, those sections. If we had someone that wanted to do a design pass on them and see if they can fix layout issues or spacing or whatever, we can do that, but it's not urgent. And then the service provider listing is something that I think we are going to need to pay a little bit more attention to long term, just because we want to start offering, like, you know, paid featured positioning somehow, and we'll need to figure out how to actually do that. Right now they're all just either sorted alphabetically or however. We don't have a model in place to actually accept money for those things yet, but it's on our list to, like, we should make this work like Drupal's marketplace because that was super successful. So at some point we'll need to kind of revisit that section, and I think that's okay if we wait until we are ready to start accepting money for that sort of thing. But I think it would be nice for our the people that have listed their companies as supporting organizations to get more out of that section. So if somebody looking for backdrop support has all the tools they need to be able to find the people providing backdrop support, that would be a win. And hopefully we can do that in a way that's pretty as well as usable. Okay, so that's all we have on the list for backdropcms.org. Other things we need to work on that we need design for. Business cards we talked about in detail last week. Nate ordered a first run of business cards from Vistaprint, and we determined that Vistaprint is not a good printer, which I think we all kind of knew before. But it was good because it would have been convenient to be able to do a whole run of those cards from Vistaprint and have them just mailed wherever they're needed, and it's super cheap and affordable. So we know it will be better to use a real printer. It's possible to use Vistaprint. Maybe we won't use the same glossy whatever they did on the last cards for the next run, but it was a useful experiment. New stickers. So if anybody loves stickers and wants to help us with sticker design, we are looking for a new design for backdrop stickers that include the dragon. Some people mentioned that they want to put the dragon on the apple, on the back of their Apple computers, but that right now when you stick the dragon over the apple, his butt glows, or her butt glows, or its butt glows. And maybe that's not exactly what we would like to have glowing about our dragon. So if anyone wants to do anything fun with the apple and the dragon, that might be a nice kind of win for someone who wanted to help with design and didn't have a ton of time and got to play with the dragon. We have a lot of issues in the GitHub issue queue. We have a queue for backdropcms.org, and there's a specific tag there for outreach for anyone who wants to work on outreach stuff. There's also a tag there for audience designer. If we have anyone or audience design, we have anyone who's specifically good at design stuff and wants to see what we're up to. I know GitHub is not maybe the best place to manage these kind of tasks, but that's the tool we have, so that's the tool we're using. Definitely, if you see something in there you want to work on, go ahead and grab that and issue and let us know. We'd love to see progress on any of those. Throw them into this meeting. Backdrop itself has a new release coming January 15th. Feature freezes January 1st. There's going to be a bunch of new features that are probably going to need a design and user experience review. The new entity reference module is going to need a review. There's some other things like a view for managing files, the view modes, new add custom view modes options. All of that could use more eyes on it. And if you see a feature being added to Backdrop that you want to test drive, on the pull request, there's a website that gets fired up automatically, so anyone can go and take a look at it. You don't need to worry about figuring out how to deal with branches or pull requests or patches yourself. There should be a site there where you can just play with stuff. So the more eyes we get on these new features, the better. And I think we'll be able to keep it in line with the aesthetic and experience of the rest of Backdrop. But all those issues are tagged with 1.6 if you want to check the GitHub issue queue for Backdrop. I think it's Backdrop-issues. So other than that, we have been talking about creating human interface guidelines to describe the user experience patterns that exist all over Backdrop core and when to use them. This is something I actually found myself missing a couple of days ago when we're looking at taking modules that exist in Contrib and moving them into core, and you realize that they're kind of weird patterns that people have adopted in Contrib for any number of various reasons. When you put them in core, we're like, well, we don't have any other pages that look like this. Like, how can we create a consistent experience? I think it's something, Gregory, you might be interested in too, where we can figure out like how to handle tabs, like when to use a tab, when to use an action link. There's just some weird stuff in Backdrop that we like have done. I mean, Drupal has done the same way for a very long time, and people who are familiar with it know to look for tabs. If that's like a weird interface pattern that doesn't exist anywhere else on the internet, it would be great if we could figure out like better alternatives for these things too. And I think if we could write down all of the weird patterns that we have, it would also give us an easy way to look at them and be like, this one's weird, this one's fantastic. Let's see if we can make the weird one more fantastic and get them cleaned up. So it's going to be a lot of documentation, and I'm not sure if it is, but I think it would produce a better end result.
Yeah, I think there was an old issue, and they mentioned interface guidelines for, I think, Apple, was it? I'm not sure. Does Drupal? I mean,
yeah, no, I think it was Apple.
Yeah. Does Drupal.org have something equivalent that we can piggyback?
I don't think they do.
I don't think either. I'll just search real quick, but I don't think they do. But it would be good if we had something, sort of like something equivalent to the code standards that we have.
It does look like they have
design principles. That's the only thing that I find.
They have a sandbox project where Jennifer Hodgins tried to write down. Here, let me send you these links. I'm going to throw them into the chat. There's also an issue here for Drupal to document their guidelines as well. Which is 5 minutes over.
Let me just quickly share the link that I found. I think it was a dev doc. Docs develop. That's the one that I could find.
Okay.
It seems like that. But it's empty. It's sort of like a.
Yeah, that's good.
But it feels it's incomplete. But I think they're aiming to do the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to add these links into our issue for this. This will be really helpful to whoever. Where is our issue for this? I'll go make an issue for this. We've got to have one already. All right. Anything else we should talk about this week, design related or otherwise? Okay. Well, we have another meeting in half an hour-ish. I'm going to write up the human interface guidelines issue if I can't find an existing one and add these links so we don't lose them.
I think there's an issue for that. I might have assigned it to myself.
Okay.
I think it might be an ops.
Might make sense. We don't have one. Well, where should we put it?
I could have sworn this existed. Because I was mumbling about Pattern Lab.
Well, we have that repo that's specifically for human interface guidelines.
Oh, that might be it. Well, no. Actually, I don't think I've ever messed with that. I don't know.
Backdrop HIG. One issue.
Okay, so I did make a issue 1306 backdrop pattern library ?
Is that in core? Which-
Yeah. Backdrop issues 1306.
6. Hey.
Changing the name / interface guidelines ?
All right. There's also a group. It's not doing anything now. Okay, that's good. Well, if there's nothing else, why don't we wrap this meeting and we'll see everyone in an hour. Thanks for coming.
Bye.